friends. Today, I want to tell you another chilling story. For 50-year-old Kelly Coppella and 53-year-old Kenneth Pullman, the summer of 2024 had been filled with happiness. Both had endured devastating losses. Kelly from an abusive marriage and difficult divorce. Kenny from losing his first wife to cancer 17 years earlier. When they found each other, their family said they had never seen either of them so content. Their relationship was creating something beautiful. A blended family that included Kenny's children, Brianna, 25, Tyler, 21, and Jenna, 14, alongside Kelly's 15-year-old daughter, Gianna. But their second chance at love had caught the attention of someone who believed Kelly didn't deserve to be happy. Someone who had been planning his revenge for months. Someone who would stop at nothing to destroy what they had built together. Kelly Jean Coppella was born in 1974 and grew up on Long Island with her parents, John and Karen. From the very beginning, she was what her family called the ultimate daddy's girl. Her sister-in-law, Lori Patton, who met Kelly's brother Ryan in high school, said Kelly was so close to both of her parents. She called her mother every single day. She was the apple of her father's eye. Kelly attended Satcham High School alongside her two brothers, Ryan and Kyle. Lori, who had known Kelly for 27 years, said she was always beautiful and fun. Kelly had so many friends she cared about. She kept in contact with everyone. She had such a light inside of her. She was a bubbly human being who always spread joy. She always had a smile on her face. Growing up, Kelly was incredibly close to her extended family, including her stepbrother and sister, Keith and Courtney. She was someone who never forgot a birthday, never missed reaching out to people she cared about. Her nieces and nephews would later call her the best auntie ever because she never missed a soccer game or school event. After high school, Kelly's life took the path that many young women follow. She met Daniel Coppa, and the two eventually married. Together, they welcomed a daughter into the world, Gianna, who had become the absolute center of Kelly's universe. For a time, things seemed normal from the outside. Kelly worked in accounting at a media company, balancing her career with motherhood. She was devoted to Gianna, attending every cheerleading competition, every school event. Lori said a lot of their world was cheer competitions, and Kelly took the time to always be there. Her goal was making sure Gianna was provided for, and also doing things for Gianna, taking her on vacations or into the city or to Great Adventure or Disney World. She wanted to make Gianna as happy as possible. But behind the facade of family life, Kelly was struggling. Those close to her knew that her marriage to Daniel was troubled. Kelly, being a private person, didn't often talk about her marital problems openly, but the signs were there. Her family would later describe Daniel as abusive. Police records would later show there had been one documented domestic incident during their marriage, though it was labeled non-criminal. But for Kelly's family, they knew the reality was darker than what appeared on paper. Eventually, Kelly made the brave decision to leave. The divorce proceedings were, by all accounts, contentious and difficult. Detective Lieutenant Kevin Bear said, "Apparently, the divorce is final." Apparently, it was a contentious divorce. What Kelly didn't know at the time was just how much Daniel blamed her for what he saw as his financial ruin. The bitterness and resentment were festering beneath the surface, growing more dangerous with each passing day. The divorce was finalized sometime in 2022 or 2023, just 1 or 2 years before Kelly's death. For Kelly, it represented freedom from a marriage that had caused her pain. She could finally focus on being the mother Gianna deserved, and perhaps one day finding happiness again. Kelly remained close to her family throughout this difficult period. As Kelly emerged from her divorce, she was finally ready to embrace life again. She was working, raising Gianna, staying connected to her family and friends. What Kelly didn't know was that her fresh start was about to lead her to someone who would change everything. Kenneth Pullman Jr., known to everyone as Kenny, had his own story of heartbreak and resilience. He was the oldest of 4 children. John, Tony Ann, and Tommy followed him in birth order. His brother Tommy later recalled, "We weren't John. We weren't Tommy. We were always Kenny Pullman's little brother or little sister." Growing up on Long Island, the Pullman children had been raised in a different era. Tommy remembered him and his siblings growing up when there were no phones or video games. Kids spent time playing in the neighborhood and would go home when the street lights came on. The Pullmans played sports from an early age, whether it was stickball, football, or kickball. You name it, the entire neighborhood was always outside playing. Kenny had graduated from SUNY Old Westbury and built a successful career in the IT industry. For 18 years, he had worked as a senior account executive at Converge Technology Group. Tommy said, "If you knew Kenny, you loved him. And if you didn't know him, I apologize. You didn't get to experience his love for life and his joy for life. But it was Kenny's role as a father that truly defined him. He had married young. His first wife was named Kim. Together, they welcomed 2 children, Brianna and Tyler, and built a happy family life. The couple was devoted to each other and their children. Then, in 2007, when Kenny was just in his mid-30s, tragedy struck. Kim was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Despite fighting bravely, she lost her battle, leaving Kenny to raise Brianna and Tyler as a single father. After Kim's death, Kenny threw himself into being the best father he could be. He created the Pullman Foundation to help raise money for cancer research in his wife's memory. His dedication to his children was unwavering. Later, Kenny remarried and welcomed his youngest daughter, Jenna, into the world. The Pullman family would travel together to Disney, go on cruises, and take other vacations together. However, that second marriage eventually ended as well, leaving Kenny once again a single father, this time to 3 children. But around 2023, about a year and a half before his death, Kenny met Kelly Coppella. Both were single parents who had been through tremendous pain. Both were ready to start over. When they met, it was as if 2 puzzle pieces had finally found their perfect fit. Kenny's father said they were soulmates. He brought the best out of her, and she brought the best out of him. They had a second chance. My son lost his wife 17 years ago. Kelly's family was equally moved by the transformation they witnessed. Lori Patton said Kelly was in love for the first time in a long time. She embraced his family, and he embraced Gianna and the rest of her family. They were both really family-oriented. The time she was with Kenny was the happiest of her life. We've never seen her with someone that treated her so well. The couple moved in together at a beautiful $1.1 million 6-bedroom home on Brasswood Road in St. James. It was more than just a house. It was becoming the foundation for their blended family. Kenny's 3 children, Brianna, 25, Tyler, 21, and Jenna, 14, welcomed Kelly and 15-year-old Gianna with open arms. Tommy wanted to make it clear that this wasn't a casual relationship. He said, "Kenny's been portrayed as the new boyfriend, or the new beau." Kenny and his family welcomed Kelly and her family into their home. He was not the new beau. He was not the new boyfriend. This was two families coming together, creating something beautiful from the ashes of their previous tragedies. In June 2024, Kenny threw Kelly the perfect 50th birthday party. For Kelly's family, seeing her so genuinely happy was everything they had hoped for after years of watching her struggle in her marriage to Daniel. While Kelly and Kenny didn't marry, their commitment to each other and their blended family was absolute. They were building a life together, making plans for the future, creating a home filled with love and laughter. Tommy said, "I want people to focus on the love that they had for one another when they died, the love that Kenny had for his family and friends, and the love that we all had for Kenny." He added, "Regardless of the circumstances, people deserve to be happy in life. Divorced, not divorced. I don't care what the circumstances are. They died in love with each other. If we can take a little piece out of all this, it's that they died loving one another." But there was one person who couldn't accept Kelly and Kenny's happiness. Daniel Coppella watched his ex-wife's newfound joy with growing resentment and rage. Once he learned about Kelly's relationship with Kenny, the threats began. Kenny's family said there had been numerous threats from Daniel. The Pullman family knew Daniel was bitterly jealous, but they had no idea just how dangerous that jealousy would become. What they didn't know was that Daniel had been planning his revenge for months. 28th August, 2024 was a typical Wednesday evening in the quiet, affluent Long Island hamlet of St. James. Kelly and Kenny were settling in for the night at their shared home on Brasswood Road. The house had become a sanctuary for their blended family, a place where love had triumphed over past pain. 15-year-old Gianna was at home, likely preparing for another day at Smithtown High School East, where she was a cheerleader with the Long Island Cheer Diamonds. It should have been just another peaceful evening in their new life together. But 3 miles away on Harbor Road in head of the harbor, Daniel Coppella was preparing to put his plan into action. Earlier that evening, Daniel had been driving with Gianna in the car. His behavior had been erratic and frightening, driving recklessly, hitting things. The 15-year-old became so scared that she asked her father to take her back to her mother's house. Daniel agreed, but once at the Brasswood Road home, he didn't simply drop Gianna off and leave. At around 11:30 p.m., Daniel texted his 15-year-old daughter asking about Kenneth's bedroom location. He then instructed Gianna to come outside and get into his vehicle. The teenager, unaware of what her father was planning, complied. She had no idea that she was about to become an unwitting participant in the most horrific night of her life. With his daughter waiting in the car, Daniel positioned himself behind a bush near the front of the house. He shot through the front door lock, forcing his way into the home. He made his way upstairs to where Kelly and Kenny were. The attack was swift and brutal. Both Kelly and Kenny were shot to death. In his haste to escape, Daniel left behind his sandals at the crime scene. As Daniel returned to his car, where his traumatized 15-year-old daughter was waiting, he made a confession that would haunt Gianna forever. He told his daughter, "I killed your mother and Kenny." The 3-mile journey back to Daniel's home on Harbor Road must have been a nightmare for the teenager. As he drove, Diana began texting her friends in desperation. "I don't know what my father did. I don't know how my mother is," she wrote. Gianna's friends tried to reach Kelly, but couldn't get through. Something was terribly wrong. At 11:45 p.m., Gianna called 911 from her father's home, reporting that her father was threatening to kill himself with a gun. Officers responded immediately to the Harbor Road address. Meanwhile, at 11:54 p.m., Gianna's concerned friends made their own 911 call to report that the teenager had left her mother's home with her father without Kelly's permission. When officers arrived at Daniel's home, they found him and took him into custody for the suicide threats. Gianna directed them to a black semi-automatic handgun that Daniel had hidden in the house. At the same time, other officers responded to the Brasswood Road address. What they found there was a scene of unimaginable violence. The front door had been forced open. Inside, they discovered Kelly and Kenneth, both dead from gunshot wounds. As the sun rose on Thursday, the 29th of August, the full horror of what had happened began to emerge. Police began processing both crime scenes, Daniel's home on Harbor Road and the murder scene on Brasswood Road. What investigators discovered was shocking. During a search of Daniel's home, they found typewritten documents detailing his murder plot in what prosecutors would later call excruciating detail. The planning documents stated, "I am of sound mind, and I know exactly what I'm going to do." Daniel had prepared individual bullets marked with the names of everyone involved in his divorce case. Not just Kelly and Kenny, but both parties' divorce attorneys. Assistant District Attorney Eric Abelfire would later reveal in court that Daniel had even had a bullet for his own attorney. The evidence showed that Daniel blamed Kelly entirely for what he saw as his financial ruin. His rage extended to everyone he blamed for his perceived misfortune. He had contemplated a much larger massacre that would have targeted everyone connected to his divorce. At the crime scene on Brasswood Road, investigators found Daniel's sandals. One of them discovered underneath Kenneth's body. Kenny's brother Tommy would later say, "My brother died trying to protect Kelly." Even in death, Kenny had been trying to save the woman he loved. Body cam footage captured Daniel's immediate confession to the murders when officers first took him into custody. Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney called the murders a premeditated ambush and execution. On the 29th of August, 2024, Daniel was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. During his arraignment on the 30th of August, he pleaded not guilty and was remanded without bail. The courtroom was filled with family members and friends of the victims, with outbursts from the gallery as one person called Daniel a murderer. Kelly's father, John Patton, described the sorrow the family was feeling as overwhelming. As prosecutors reviewed the extensive evidence of premeditation, the charges were upgraded on the 6th of September to 4 counts of first-degree murder. If convicted, Daniel would face life imprisonment without parole. The legal proceedings took a dramatic turn when Daniel suffered a self-inflicted spinal cord injury whilst on suicide watch at Suffolk County Jail. He required surgery and appeared at court from his hospital bed. His defense attorney, Stephen Pitty, said he suffered an injury while in the jail. The extent of that, we're trying to determine with the doctors. I don't think anyone who has ever been charged with murder is in a positive mental state. The murders sent shock waves through the Long Island community. The response was immediate and overwhelming. A GoFundMe campaign called Kenny's Kids was set up by his employer, Converged Technology Group, to support Kenny's 3 children. The fund raised over $148,000, approaching its $150,000 goal. A separate fund called Support Gianna After Tragic Loss was created by Kelly's family to help the traumatized teenager. The fund raised over $96,000 in just 5 days, with more than $1,000 donations flooding in from people touched by the tragedy. Kenny's memorial service was held at St. Elizabeth of Hungary Church in Melville on the 3rd of September, with hundreds attending. Family members described Kenny as a friend to all whose smile and positive attitude were contagious. Kelly's services were held at Mullins Holbrook Funeral Home on the 4th to the 5th of September, where she was remembered for her vibrant personality and contagious smile. Tommy Pullman was determined that his brother's legacy wouldn't be overshadowed by the violence that took his life. Tommy said, "We are not going to let a heinous murderer overshadow the life and legacy of my brother." Number 1, we have his kids. His kids will be taken care of. I would tell him I love him one more time. All of my siblings would tell him that it was an honor and a privilege to be known as Kenny Pullman's little brother. We will always be Kenny Pullman's little brother. For Gianna, the trauma of that night, of being used as an unwitting participant in her father's plan, of hearing his confession, is unimaginable. The 15-year-old cheerleader now lives with family members supported by her extended family and community as she tries to process the horror of losing her mother in such a violent way. In the end, that love, imperfect and interrupted as it was, remains the most powerful part of their story. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you can be the first to hear about such real-life stories.